Carroll Smith, when I met you in 2005, you were the host of a Charlotte Mason conference in the US. And I noticed from the first moment that I met you and the group of scholars and Charlotte Mason practitioners that were gathered around you and around the speakers that you had, that something very unusual was going on. You and I picked up conversations after that, and it resulted in 4 years later us putting together an application for a grant to the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada. What we wanted to do through that grant was because of the vision you inspired. You were very sure that scholarship and application of Charlotte Mason's ideas could not advance to the scale that they ought to have without the work that we then did. Can you tell us a bit about your original vision?
Yes, I think the Mason movement at that point was still quite young, which it even is today. It's still, comparatively speaking, is a young movement. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. To get that work done, in this particular situation, people need access to documents. They need access to Mason's books. They need access to the materials that are necessary to study, to learn, to really be able to effectively put into practice Mason's methods. This is one of those steps to provide the documents that we need in order to effectively understand, to effectively study and research Mason. You need access to our files.
So think about a teacher. It's the year 2020. Many teachers are very dedicated, very hard-working individuals who have an incredible capacity to work with children individually, in groups, to work in our public schools or independent schools or home schools. Why should that dedicated, knowledgeable, gifted teacher in the year 2020 be aware of Charlotte Mason? What is it that's so important about her ideas, her methods, her approaches, that all of us who are educators, who care deeply about the future of education in the 21st century, what is it that all of us should know about Charlotte Mason?
That's a huge question to answer. And I think I would start by saying that as it's fairly well understood that we live in a very materialistic culture. And education is no less materialistic. We go to school to get a good education so that we can go to a good college. And we want to go to the college that's going to, as you can see on the internet today, the top 10 colleges that provide the best income if you graduate from that college. That's a very materialistic view of education. Charlotte Mason had a radically different view of what education is about. And it's not one based on power that I just described, but rather it's one based on relationship, on children understanding and knowing the world they live in relationally, rather than through power and through deterministic ways.
The sense of putting children in relationship with ideas, with knowledge, with people, with place, is something that has definitely grabbed me and grabbed my attention about Charlotte Mason's philosophy. What is it that you see that's happening today that gives you hope that this idea is being picked up to good influence and good effect on the education of children in our times?
Interestingly enough, I think it's the research going on in the secular world in many ways. The research on play, the research on executive function disorder, the neuroscience that's coming out that continually tells us that stories, living books, are the best way to educate children, that children need to make connections. I think that the science today is frequently supporting what Mason said over 100 years ago. The problem has been that between the time of Mason and now, we dealt with a number of years of very behavioristic science, which I think took us in the wrong direction in terms of education. Behaviorism, of course, has its place, and it has done some good things. But in terms of education, it's taking us down the wrong trail, and we are now coming back, I think, to Mason's trail, which is what the research, I think, today is showing us.
So Charlotte Mason's left us an awful lot. There were institutions that embodied her ideas, there are journals, there are books, there are educators to this day that embody her ideas. We're at the forefront of a new phase in education. And I think you and I both agree that spending a little bit of time understanding Charlotte Mason can be part of projecting us forward into a very positive phase of education.
So I have a lot of hope for the 21st century. In spite of all the negative news, negative ideas that we hear, there's a lot of hope and inspiration for the 21st century.
Thank you for being part of that. Dr. Carroll Smith, former Dean of Education at Gardner-Webb University, and now the Director of the Charlotte Mason Institute. Thank you.